Good afternoon, everybody. As the first stop for the dreaded after-lunch graveyard slot, I feel a bit like the warm-up act before the real stars take the stage. We have three distinguished speakers, two with interesting studies following me. And as a simple engineer, I feel that my role is to keep you at the edge of your seats, keep you guessing what's going to happen, heightening your sense of anticipation, making you break into spontaneous applause when they appear. So that's my job. Anything else I do is extra. Okay, these are the 6 topics that I'm going to be dealing with in that order. The first 3 really set the background to project finance in major infrastructure projects. And the second 3 perhaps takes a peep at the future and has a bash at just about everybody, including banks, engineering companies, the government, everybody. Nobody is spared today. I also include in my presentation some ideas about how to deal with the recession times and the eventual post-recession, whenever that happens to be. Depends who you listen to. Some think it's tomorrow we're going to be in post-recession, and I think it's a long way to go. But I'm reflecting the IPFA members' views, or so many of them, as well as my own. Okay, why not a global approach, but a UK approach is required? The reason is that in spite of the recession creating a level playing field in economic terms, there is a huge variation between countries, in their economic status when they went into recession, and the rate at which they're going to come out, and the state they're going to be in when they come out. So it's very difficult from a project finance point of view to come up with solutions that you can say apply worldwide. It's almost impossible, in fact. You can tailor some generic solutions to each zone or each market, but it is very much we are going to be doing our own thing in the UK just about as much as anybody else is going to be doing their own thing. For economic reasons, the legal framework here is very, very different, and the major impact on the future of project finance, a major project, is the legal framework. The government has a major role to play, and I will deal with that later on. Political climate as well. We have different priorities politically than other countries. We have an election coming up, and so on. And then the commercial sophistication. UK is a very commercial, sophisticated market. Other countries are not as much as that. We do have a very good understanding of procurement, contract forms, and that's why we tend to stick to the EU procurement directives more than others. That's because we know more than most people do. As a country, we led PFI, we led PPP for many, many years, and we are much more inventive and creative. So for those reasons, I'm not going to deal, I think most of what I say will be strictly UK-based, although some of it can be applied elsewhere, and I'll bring some of those experiences to bear. Again, I'm going to be speaking largely, what I say is going to apply to large infrastructure projects. Why? Well, different sectors have different dynamics, different constraints and challenges to it. The most important one, small residential development, for example, can still access long-term finance in a very conventional way. Large infrastructure projects are the key to our successful post-recession recovery. And not only that, I think it is infrastructure projects are one of the most important sectors in our economy. For 2 reasons primarily. One is because it gives people utility. We all need homes, we all need heat, we all need light, we all need to travel in public sector transportation as well as roads effectively. And that's just, if you like, it's, better catch up, enables a civilized standard of living. But also, it is the major structural element in economic growth. And this is something that has been missed and avoided politicians don't like to discuss this because infrastructure investment is not sexy. It's not vote winning. But take France, for example. The UK has great advantages. We have the English language, which is the recognized international language. We have world-class universities. We have the city. And yet, in spite of all those advantages that France doesn't have, France is 20% more productive than we are. Why? They have world-class infrastructures. We don't. Our infrastructure, we still rely too much on the Victorian infrastructure. And we are not productive enough because of that. So our recovery is going to be really dependent on how we deal with our infrastructure investment in the next few years. The investment required, the one calculation that was done recently by the Policy Exchange in their report, they calculated £434 billion over the next 10 years. That's almost £50 billion a year for 10 years. Energy, 264 billion, transport, 120, water, 45, comms, 5. But that is a very conservative estimate. It doesn't include the police, education, health, postal services, social security, what I call soft infrastructure. I think personally that the actual figure of investment required if this country is going to emerge out of recession and be strong and sustainable for the next 20 years is going to be far in excess of £50 billion a year. And not for 10 years, but maybe for 20. So the challenge is enormous. How do we finance that? Where do we find the money for that?